folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Some rain in the area. It's sprinkled a little bit. There's definitely some thunderstorms and stuff in the vicinity. We're just not seeing it here yet. We may see it. I don't know. But it's cloudy. And like I said, we did get a few sprinkles. But I wanted to talk to you about something that I've talked about before on here. I know I've made at least 1 or 2 videos on this. But I want to bring it back up because, number one, something has happened recently to kind of, I think, prove my point, or at least add credence to the point, but to also remind us, because with all the stuff going on, like I said yesterday or the day before, it's a big psyop, and they're trying to get everyone, not just the people that are the far left or the ones that are asleep, but even folks like you and I. They're trying to get that hook sunk in to get us to believe one way or the other. So the last couple of months, we've seen an increase, and I've reported many times on this, of these pro-Hamas protests all over the country, very much similar to the BLM Antifa riots 4 years ago. They've been primarily at universities. Some of the protesters and rioters are actual Muslim. Others are sympathizers or whatever. And it's been a joke. It's been a laugh for a lot of us, because you'll see these like pro-trans, pro-gay, people out there also protesting in favor of Hamas, and we're like, yeah, why don't you try to go to the Gaza Strip and do that kind of stuff and see how that works for you. But the point is that it's been happening, and even the supreme leader, whatever his name is, of Iran has praised it just the other day, saying that you're doing a good job, you American university students that are out there protesting against Israel for Hamas. And all the while, a lot of us, you and I, are like, as much as we may disagree with a lot of the Islamic beliefs, and especially Hamas, Gaza, all that kind of stuff, they're typically very conservative, especially socially conservative, which all these lefties out there that are protesting in favor of them are the opposite of that. And there's some irony there and all this kind of stuff. Well, anyways, a few days ago, Pride Month started. I know that excites so many of you. If you remember a year ago how disgusting it was, I'm sure this month is only going to be filled with even more disgust and sin. Just pure wickedness. Already, in several cities around the world, there have been pride marches, and they, of course, are just the biggest display of absolute disgust. And it's not even, I personally disagree with the lifestyle. I'm very clear on that. But even if someone didn't, even if someone was like, you know what, I don't care if they do that, still what they do at these things is absolutely disgusting. Many of them are completely naked, and the ones that aren't are almost there, and it's absolutely disgusting. Anyways, long story short is there have been some major fights break out because the pride marches are happening alongside with the pro-Palestinian marches, and they've clashed. And there's actually video of them standing off, and in Philadelphia there's been thousands of people fighting. A lot of chaos, a lot of havoc happening. And, I know you and I kind of sit back and got a little smile on our face and a little chuckle, because we knew all along that's how it was going to end up. Well, I think there's a bigger thing going on here. I've said all along that what we're seeing, the direction, this great reset, this new normal that we're seeing, I don't think that that's the end goal. I don't think that's where the elites, these globalists, these Klaus Schwabs and stuff, I don't think that's where they want to end up. I think they're following this plan because they know it will end up in chaos. And then they can unveil the real plan. And I suspect the real plan, at least in some ways, may find itself appealing to some of you. I think it's going to be this big pendulum swing. I think they're pushing very, very liberal, like just the most outlandish, disgusting, crazy concepts, so that there will be this demand and this backlash. And that's actually where they want to be, because as much as we don't agree with all this far left woke liberal garbage stuff, it tends to lead, in a lot of ways towards not necessarily freedom, but just, do what you want, live how you want, sleep with who you want, change your gender every other day or 5 times a day. It's whatever makes you feel good. That concept doesn't really fit very well with we're going to have total control over your life. I know there's an argument that can be made that all of these woke lefties are not the libertarians that their forefathers were, that they're very much in favor of government. But just hear me out. I think they want more control over people, control over their reproduction, control over their thoughts, control over their children, control over everything, absolute everything. And what's kind of seemingly a better way to do that is to be fearful of everyone instead of being accepting of everyone and being tolerant and diversified. It's to be terrified of everyone. And so they're pushing all the gender stuff, they're pushing all the race stuff, so that there is this big pendulum swing back the other way. It's a theory of mine. I know that I'm not the only one that thinks this, but it's a theory. If you look at what happened in Nazi Germany, it's almost a perfect blueprint. Before Hitler came to power, before the National Socialists came to power, and I'm certainly in no way praising them. I'm not one of those that think they're great. They're not. Hitler was an evil man. There was very much going on in Germany what you see here in America today. Transgender stuff, pedophilia, sex changes, just nudity and complete, absolute debauchery. And a lot of what caused Hitler and the National Socialists to come to power is because there was this big rubber band. The people just got sick of it. And they went for, the furthest thing from it, and was Hitler and the National Socialists. And that was the initial, book burnings and executions and things like that, was getting out those people. Those original book burnings were burning pornography and stuff. Now maybe they went on and burned other things later, but that's the point. And I could see that very easily happening here in the United States, or in just the West in general, where they're pushing, because it's absolutely ridiculous. The intensity at which they're pushing the most ridiculous, far out there ideas, things that even just a few years ago there's no sane person whatsoever would have accepted. They're doing it so fast. They're not allowing, even if you go back over the last century, yes, there's been a progression of social acceptances and morality and stuff, the 50s, and then by the 60s, this was accepted, by the 70s, and then by the 80s, and then by the 90s, we all know that. This is happening at a speed that there's nothing to compare to it. And I think it's happening purposefully to cause there to be such a radical backlash that when everything falls apart and they're like, oh, well, we got a fix for all this. You got to turn over your rights, and you got to let the government handle this kind of stuff. We need to have the digital currency. We need to have the mandated this, the mandated that, and it may be led by someone like a Donald Trump. I don't know if I'm saying. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it's not. But I think that there'll be a big backlash. Most of these world leader people are direct descendants of Nazis. or have strong connections. I mean, look at Ukraine, look at Klaus Schwab, look at most of the United Nations leadership, or at least how it was founded and stuff. So it's like this quasi mix of Marxism and National Socialism. I know that sounds crazy for those of you that understand the distinction between the two, but it is. And so the point to me saying all this is that you and I need to be cautious of who we tether ourselves to, because we're out there seeing all this disgusting garbage too, and we want to see a conservative, back to Bible, back to morality, back to family values, and be cautious of if it does pop up and like, oh, here's this leader, here's this movement, here's this cause that will bring back these biblical moralities, these family traditions, when in fact it could be evil. Not saying it will be, I'm just saying beware of false light, because there's so much evilness being pushed right now. It would be very easy for another version of evilness that has the false light appearance to it to take over, and people would just fall behind like, oh yes, you know, this is going to stop all of this child mutilation and pedophilia and disgusting vile behavior. Let's accept this. So be cautious of it. I'm not saying that it will happen, but I am saying it's most likely to happen. I believe it's biblical, and so we need to be prepared for that, because the stuff that's going on, I think it's setting up an absolute perfect scenario for it. So be careful of it. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.